Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really getting into the engine room of modern companies. We're looking at how machine learning ML is just fundamentally changing how businesses see their people. I mean, we're so far past the era of reactive HR, right? Where you only dealt with a problem after it exploded. Now we're talking about systems that can give you real strategic foresight.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to give you a true shortcut to understanding this. We're going to unpack how all this advanced data analytics is driving, a profound shift. The focus isn't on looking backwards anymore. It's about predicting and, getting ahead of two of the biggest challenges in any workplace: workforce fatigue and, of course, employee turnover.
And if you're someone who cares about stability, about team output,
Right.
really about the long-term health of your organization, this is key. ML gives you the power to manage your people proactively, and that translates directly into, hard business metrics, better retention, higher productivity.
Lower operational risk.
Yeah.
It's a strategic investment, period.
So let's start with the problems themselves, the operational challenges. We all know burnout is a thing, that turnover is bad. But the sources we looked at frame these as issues of prediction failure, a failure to see the signs until it's just way too late.
And that framing is so critical. Workforce fatigue isn't just someone needing an extra coffee. When you let it go unaddressed, the data links it directly to a spike in costly errors. You see poor decision-making, a drain on morale that affects the entire team. In some fields, technical roles for instance, that fatigue isn't just about productivity, it's a systemic risk.
Right. And then when those key people, the really fatigued ones, finally leave, that's when the costs just skyrocket. We tend to focus on recruitment fees, but the real damage is losing all that institutional knowledge, the experience that walks out the door. It's almost impossible to put a number on that, but you feel it. It slows everyone else down.
Yeah, and that's where the power of ML comes in. It completely redefines the solution. You move from replacement to prevention. Instead of waiting for that resignation letter, you can predict who might leave and even get a sense of why. It lets the organization step in with these incredibly targeted measures, boost job satisfaction, re-engage someone before they even update their LinkedIn profile. It just changes the whole game.
Okay, so this brings us to the core mechanism, the how. If we accept the why, that prediction failure is incredibly expensive, we need to get into the weeds of how this actually works. What data are these models even looking at?
Well, they're so powerful because they go way beyond simple stuff, like clock-ins or vacation days. They work by synthesizing these incredibly diverse data sets. It's something the human analysts just couldn't do. We're talking about inputs like work hours, sure, but also task complexity, how fast projects are getting done, even employee feedback from digital channels.
You also mentioned physical health indicators in the source material. That's a huge spectrum of data. How do you blend something structured, like task complexity, with something so sensitive?
That's the magic of the machine learning itself. It's not just looking for a simple threshold, like if someone works more than 60 hours, their risk is high. That's too simple. The models use things like time series forecasting. They're looking for dynamic shifts, for nonlinear correlations. For example, the system might see a tiny dip in engagement sentiment over, say, 90 days. On its own, that's nothing. But it only becomes a high turnover signal when it correlates with a sudden jump in the complexity of their daily tasks and a flattening of their reported physical wellness.
I see. So any one of those things might be fine on its own, but the combination, the intersection of them over time, that's the real predictor.
Precisely. The predictive power is in finding those complex patterns that signal risk long before you see it in the obvious ways. Before output drops or sick days go up, it means the system is forecasting intent. It's telling you when an employee is most likely to hit that wall or start looking for another job. It's like giving the organization a countdown timer.
A countdown timer. That's a powerful way to put it. And that timer is basically the trigger for an early intervention. So if the model flags person or a small team, what actionable insights does HR get that they wouldn't have had before?
The key advantage is moving from these generic company-wide policies to tailored strategic solutions. The interventions are guided by the data, so you can roll out wellness programs that are highly targeted. Or you can offer flexible schedules exactly where the data shows a bottleneck, not just everywhere. You can point high-risk people toward career development that actually addresses why they're feeling stuck.
I really like that emphasis on customized solutions because it acknowledges that the reason a mid-career manager is burning out is totally different from why, say, a top-performing new hire is struggling. One might need new challenges, the other might be just overwhelmed. ML can see that difference.
Absolutely. The organization can finally get away from the one-size-fits-all approach. We're seeing things like personalized training programs to fill a specific skill gap the data shows is causing frustration, or, very specific workload adjustments for a team whose capacity model is in the red. It's all about addressing the unique needs of the individual. That's what actually improves retention.
To make this all feel more real, let's look at the two case studies from the sources. We can start with the tech firm, because the findings here were, honestly, pretty counterintuitive.
This first case is a perfect example of that nonlinear insight we were talking about. The company used ML to track performance against engagement, and the model started flagging signs of burnout. Not in their struggling employees, it was their highest performing talent. The people that management usually overlooks because, hey, they're crushing their targets.
Which challenges that basic assumption that if you're performing well, you must be happy. So why did the model flag them?
Well, the model saw a specific pattern. These high performers were taking on more and more complex tasks. And while their output was still great, the predictive data showed this long, slow decline in their self-reported energy levels. They're basically running on fumes. So the intervention was surgical. HR rolled out mandatory time off and wellness programs just for that specific flagged group.
And the result was a real measurable win for the business.
A huge win. They saw a 15% reduction in turnover among that critical group of employees. It just shows the massive ROI of being able to see risks that are invisible to the naked eye.
Okay, so the second case study puts this technology into a healthcare setting, which is about as demanding as it gets. Here, the goal was predicting burnout for critical healthcare workers.
Right, and in that hospital, the changes were immediate and very practical. They didn't just offer, abstract support. They used the ML insights, which were tracking things like shift duration and patient complexity to make real structural adjustments. They added mandatory rest periods and optimized the shift rotations, but only for the specific units and people who were flagged as high risk.
So what happened when they moved beyond just suggesting things and made those operational changes based on the data?
The outcome was, of course, better morale. But more importantly for the hospital, they saw a measurable drop in absenteeism. And when you can keep your critical nurses and doctors on the floor because you've proactively managed their stress, that means better patient outcomes. It means huge operational savings. Both of these cases just confirm it. These insights translate directly into quantifiable business improvements.
So when we wrap this all up, what does it mean for the modern company? I think the main takeaway is that machine learning has completely redefined people management. It provides these proactive, predictive insights that move organizations out of, firefighting mode and into strategic forecasting. It's not just about solving problems, it's about enhancing well-being and boosting retention.
And if you look at the strategic importance, embracing ML for your workforce isn't just another tech trend. It really has to be seen as a core investment. It turns HR into this data-driven engine for stability and performance. The predictive side ensures that your resources, whether it's rest or training or flexible time, are sent exactly where they'll do the most good.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. If we can now predict the precise moments when the structure of work itself is going to cause a valued employee to burn out or leave, how does that change our ethical responsibility as managers? What new data-driven ways of structuring work must we now explore, knowing that the limits of human capacity are, for the first time, measurable and even forecastable? Something to think about until next time.